Good morning, everyone. Hi. My name is Bridgette Fortenberry. Serve as the Magnesite coordinator at my school currently. And because of that, I have the opportunity to meet with parents constantly, and I also meet with my teachers as well. And so I wanted to help everyone to connect with parents more using technology. Why? Because it's not just about using technology to because it's the end thing, but we want to form stronger bonds and we do want to increase student success. Okay, so let's get started. Before I go any further, I really do want to stop and say thank you to Dr. Desiree Alexander for hosting me today. This is a very nervous experience for me, even though I've done it before, but I do want to have the opportunity to help others and get everyone going. All right. So one of the things that I'm required to do as Magnesite coordinator is I host a parent night every year. And this is something that we do. It's for our incoming parents. It gives them the opportunity to learn more about the school. They can attend in person. It's in our school auditorium. We have about 10 presenters. These are administrators as well as teachers and other members of the leadership team. So depending on whether or not it's raining or not, there are 150 to 300 parents who show up to this event. And it normally is during the second week of school. This is really stressful for our teachers because they're trying to make sure they're doing all the other things to get started who are on the panel. And our administrators are trying to make sure everything is going smoothly, but we really think it's vital. And then this happens and it's great. And then if a parent emails, we'll give them the PowerPoint. But what if a parent doesn't email, right? So as successful as it was, there were some glitches to it, let's say. So the pandemic happens. Post-pandemic, the chairs are empty. Now what? Like, how do you do this very important, vital event for new parents? How do you transition? If you could, in the chat, if you could tell me some of the events that you have had to reshape or redo post-pandemic because you couldn't do them on campus. If you could do that for me now, I'd appreciate it.
So yes, we have some things in the chat. We have virtual parent meetings. We have art meetings. We have open house. We have 504 meetings. We have orientation that was virtual for them this year, sharing missing assignments and how to access them. Science nights.
Oh my gosh, you guys are doing amazing things. So you were like me, you were freaking out. How did you transition? How did you do this? So I'll tell you my methods and then we'll keep moving from there. So all right. What do you do if you're me? You call your best friend who's a text expert. That's Dr. Alexander, who's here helping me, moderating for me. So I want to thank her again. Very important for you to continue to do this as you do this journey. Be honest about your feelings, like really be honest about how you're doing, what's going on with you, what's happening with you. Use what you have. I was freaking out. Then I thought, hey, wait a minute, Bridgette, you have something. You have done this before. You've given this information before. You have a PowerPoint template. You have individuals that are working with you. You can do this. Trust the desire for the information. Parents do want to know about this information. And because parents want to know about this information, what you're doing has value. It has worth. So it's worth taking the time to do this. And then finally, be willing to make mistakes. This year, I have made more mistakes. I feel like a brand new first year teacher all over again, but it's been good. It's been helpful. It's been moving me in a way that makes me feel good. So what do we do in order to get this done? So because we had a PowerPoint, I said, have realistic guidelines, go by what you had previously, but make changes. Parents are dealing with platforms that they haven't had to deal with excessively. So make sure we go over those platforms and how to use them well. I had the presenters send me the slides and I gave them an extension. Normally I tell them, hey, these are due the second or third day. I gave them a week to get them back to me just so they would have time to be comfortable. And also this year, because we were not in person, I needed them to record their voices over their slides. So I made sure that I went to them, practiced the recording with them so they could do the slides and I could hear their recordings and then it could be all one PowerPoint together. And then back to my best friend, as well as the library and media specialist at my school. How do we do autoplay? Well, autoplay is a way that you can take your PowerPoint with all those different recordings, record it as an MP3. And so that parents aren't having to click through each individual slide. Instead, they'll be able to go through the slide and listen to the voices as each presenter presents. So how did I put it out there? My principal did an automated call, and I said, we're going to have parents have their own Google Classroom, one that's not connected to the school account, because school accounts are for students and for people on staff. So I said, I'll make a Google Classroom under my own name. It's going to be great. And I gave out the Google Classroom code, and we posted on the website. But of course, what happened? I still receive multiple calls of confused parents of how to get into Google Classroom, which had me going crazy. So we had to go back. My principal had to call again. We had to post it on the website again. And then the night of, I'm ready. I'm feeling good. I've got my autoplay. My best friend has helped me set up a Google site where I can have it. All parents have to do is go there and download it. Of course, drama, confusion. Parents that didn't have updated computers couldn't download it. So they're freaking out. Or they said, I didn't know it was going to be virtual. I rushed home to get on my computer to be here at 6:00. Despite the fact that we had sent out calls, sent out messages saying, hey, we have this available for you to view at your own time, at your own pace. What is that going to look like? So I'm feeling like an epic failure. I even call my best friend and say, I don't know what I'm doing. But it was good for me. So I learned some new things. If you're going to do something in Google Classroom, that's great. One important thing, though, if you're going to do it for students or teachers or parents, make sure you turn the comments off. And the reason why is because you don't want trolls. You don't want people putting things out there that are negative that you can't directly address or fix in that moment. You do want to get feedback. So make sure you have an email there so they can email you about it. Next thing, learning about the screen recording and putting this on Google Sites. So again, back to my best friend. She's amazing. I know. So she taught me about Google Sites. Google Sites is something free in Google. Like you can make your own websites. Granted, if you have time, they can be these amazing, earth-shattering experiences. However, if you don't have epic time, which very few of us do at this point, if we're honest, you do have a platform where parents can go quickly, get the information that they need and have it there. And what's cool about Google Sites that I like is because although it's public, most people won't go looking for your site unless they're connected to your school. And that way you can kind of gauge who comes in, who comes out, what's available there. So quickly in the chat, if you guys could tell me anybody who's used Google Sites or have tried out Google Sites this year to showcase information or put information out there.
So we have, yes, I'm working on mine now. Yes, I have used it as a student as well to access resources. Google Slides every day. We made RTI school sites in Aldine.
Oh, awesome. Very great. I'm loving hearing that everybody's using this tool. If you haven't done Google Sites, don't be afraid. It's much easier than you think it is. And it's really quickly step by step. So that's one of those things that I discovered. I don't know, your mind might not have been blown, but I was like, there's a free place for me to make a website for just my parents. Hallelujah. All righty. So meeting with the principal. Venturing into the uncharted waters of live meetings with parents. The pandemic has freaked us out as educators, but it's also freaked out our parents. They want to talk. They want to know information. They want to have that access. And I'm going to be honest with you. Before we experienced the pandemic, we did have parent voice. We have a very strong parent faculty association. Our president, Crystal, she went to LSU with me, and she's just an amazing person. And her daughter just graduated recently from there. And so it was great. It was her and the board members, and we would sit and we'd have 2 meetings per year. And parents had the opportunity to come and talk, and they had the opportunity to volunteer all throughout the year at several different things things that we do for our students. But I didn't always feel like parents had a full voice at the table. And so our principal and we both figured we needed more opportunity to speak with parents. And so how do we do that? We decided to use MS Teams, which in reality is my principal decided to use MS Teams, which turned out to be a great thing actually. But for me, because I'm more comfortable with Zoom, I was like, MS Teams, why would we use this? What do we do? How do I fix this? So it's all about me trying to figure out the logistics in the background and working with my principal once getting on board. So you see here, what's really cool about MS Teams, they have this new feature. Any of you guys that are NBA fans, hello, I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm really excited. We're all champs. And if you're not, it's okay. You can put that in the chat too. But I like this feature because it seems more communal, where once we're on MS Teams, we can show the faces of our parents and they show up here. Or you can keep it in the other mode, whatever works better for you and your school district and how many parents actually come to your parent meeting. So when we decided to use MS Teams, the reason I said it was good, particularly for the administrators and the other members of the leadership team, is they were familiar with the platform. It's how we do some PD in our district, and it's also how our principal does weekly staff meetings for us. The other thing that's really good about MS Teams is it has reminders. We as educators, we get busy. We get buzzes on our smartwatches, on our cell phones. But if we're at the computer, oftentimes we need that buzz reminder, hey, we have a meeting coming up. The other good thing is in our district, our administrators had a meeting at about an hour after our scheduled meeting with the principal. And so that meant there was a cutoff time. So we didn't have to be there forever. Because of this meeting with the principal, like I said, uncharted waters, we had questions. Would there be trolls out there? Like, how do you deal with it? How many parents are actually going to come? Because our meeting was at 1, maybe parents are busy at work, they're in meetings. What you do about that? And is this a good format? The thing about MS Teams is, although you can invite others, you have to have a link. That link is ridiculously long. So if you decide to use MS Teams as a platform to have parents come in, because they can join even though they're not part of your team at the school, you'll want to create a bit.ly. Yay to my best friend for introducing me to bit.ly. You take a really long password, shorten it up really, really quickly, and then you'll have that opportunity for parents to come in and click on that bit.ly, join in the meeting, put their name in there, and ask questions. So really quickly, my question for you guys now in the chat, if you could tell me, how have you shifted meeting with parents or getting parent feedback this year?
Zoom meetings, S'more, and Google Meet. I love S'more. Schoology messages. Oh, they're coming quickly now. Class Dojo, Zoom. Little to no takers from parents, though. I share with parents by getting their email and sending a Google Calendar invite for Google Meet.
Awesome.
They use Remind and Schoology and Class Tag and Google Forms.
Very, very good. I really would recommend this small group meeting, and you don't have to do it every week. We've been doing it weekly just because of the major things that have shifted in our district. I'm not sure about you guys, but in our district, they've decided to take it in sessions and phases. And so we started out with everyone virtual. Then our next move was to them coming 2 days a week. And then they're having a day off from no one on campus so that they could clean the campus really thoroughly. And then we'd have 2 more days of students being on campus. And then we moved to finally on October 19th, we went through 5 days. But for each of those phases, each of those changes, in addition, I work at a high school. And so we do the PSAT. Parents wanted to know what that schedule looked like. We also had to do the ACT this fall that we typically do in the spring. We had to do it this fall. And so parents wanted to know what that schedule would look like. And because our schedule for hybrid learning versus face-to-face 5-day-a-week learning, we really needed to let parents know, what do you need to know? How do you need to get this information? I will tell you why you would want to keep something like this in your toolkit. If you don't want to use Microsoft Teams, you're more than welcome to use something where you can be more powerful in, and we'll talk a bit about that later, one of the tools that I think is really great that's similar to MS Teams, but it gives you more power and control over who's able to say what. But I liked MS Team because it was personal. So why do you want to keep it in your toolkit? Because of equity. Honestly, you all, when you allow other people to come to the table and not just sit at the table, but have a voice at the table, this is real equity. I've seen parents from every socioeconomic background, every ethnicity really have a voice and ask questions. We had a grandmother who was here trying to make sure that her students were on the Chromebook and getting into classes and learning the information that they needed. And because of this Microsoft Teams conversation, she got everything she needed. She got copies of paperwork. She knew who to speak to on campus. Our counselors were able to talk to her on that really quick feedback. And then we get honest feedback. We change schedules. We change some of the things that we're doing, or we explain to them why there were some things that we just could not do. We also were able to show them in live time what were the things we had in place on campus to protect them during this COVID, during this epidemic. So it's real-time decision making. The power the parents felt and the fact that they came back week after week really was surprising to us. We couldn't believe that we had between 45 to 100 parents on the calls there talking, really embracing this conversation. Now, because my school is 1,600, that's less than 10%. But those voices coming to the table were enough to make a shift, make a move, make a change into what we were doing that really helped other parents who may not have been able to get on the call. One thing I did learn is that because in Microsoft Teams, you can do a recording, record the meetings. Or before I figured out that whole part about me learning how to record, it's a learning process, you all. What I did is I took detailed notes and I type a report so that parents could come back if they had questions about what we discussed in each meeting. And you can do something similar if you don't feel comfortable, or if a parent who's on the call says they don't want to be recorded. Always ask beforehand. These are people's rights. So they have the right to decide whether or not they want to be recorded. But if they're not recorded, what's going to happen is that you have those detailed notes that you can send out to say, hey, this is what we discussed. Here's more information for you. And you can either send that out on your app for your school, or you can send an email message. And these are things that the administrators on your campus would know how to do. Or if you're the administrator, this is something that you can do as well. So as I started, my fancy title is Magnet Site Coordinator, which means that I'm responsible for all things Magnet. But it also means I'm the admissions director. And part of my job is to recruit. So you're saying to yourself, I don't work at a magnet school. I get it. And that's fine. But there are things that you want to showcase, things that your students are doing well. So I'm going to talk from my perspective, but I want you to think about what are things, not just your open house, but as someone mentioned earlier, maybe a science night or maybe a cultural night that you do at your school. How do you get to do those things in this new paradigm? So for me, my Magnet Showcase, typically I host more than 1,000 prospective parents and students. So I have 15 to 1,600 children on campus, along with the teachers. And then I have 1,000 or more parents and students on campus. What that looks like is this beautiful production in our auditorium. We have the fine arts department. And so there's ballet and there's the orchestra and there's the choir, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I have 7 to 80 junior and senior students who have been vetted. They serve as my ambassadors and my docents, and they provide tours for the parents and students at the school. So all of these bodies are moving at the same time. Why do we do this? It provides key information about the application period. Parents are able to see in real time rigorous instruction. And then finally, it offers parents and students the opportunity to question administrators and leadership. So I normally do this in person. I mean, it is a machine and it's been working smoothly since I've been doing it. After my first year freaking out, I know what I'm doing. Yes, it is a good day. So what do I do when I can't have anybody on campus? How do I provide the feel of such a personal experience without these visitors really being on campus? That's the question. So I know I'm going to do what I know how to do. Again, I'm going to call my best friend. She walked me through. I knew how to do some things in Zoom, but she kind of showed me some things that were in the background about sending out a certain, that when they register, that parents had to input an email, tell me how they found out about the thing. And then the cool thing about Zoom is that I know I could mute all participants, that no trolls could be coming in. And then the other component, because my friend owns the company, I'm normally hosting 1,000 people. Now that's probably going to be 500. Well, on the free subscription, you can only get about 100 people in your meeting. So I wanted more, and this gave me opportunity to have between 300 and 500 with the paid subscription. So I was ready. I had my Zoom call set up, the registration. They would get an email back saying, here is your link. We're so happy to have you here. I was ready a month in advance. Yay me. Excitement, joy. Yes, the pandemic. So I get a call from the Office of Magnet Programs in our district, run by the amazing Miss Teresa Porter. And so one of her staff members called and said, hey, District Technology has something great you guys can use. I mean, I know you had a plan and you're all set up, but hey, stop. I want you to try this. What? I have it. I know what I'm doing. This is good. Why are you bothering me? Clearly, nobody cares how I feel because I had to learn something else new. And therein lies the whole Streamyard thing. So when I first heard about Streamyard, I was like, Stream what? So in the chat, really quickly, if you guys could tell me, have you heard about StreamYard? Is it something you've used or tried this year?
No, not yet. Negative.
Okay. All right. So StreamYard. Why do I like StreamYard? First of all, it's free. I like free 99, my favorite price. The other cool thing about StreamYard is it's high quality. I mean, it looks like you're putting on a news broadcast or a television show. And this is amazing. Depending on your bandwidth, sometimes with Zoom or MS Teams, it can be foggy or cloudy. And it's not because of the platform per se, it may deal with the bandwidth. And our district was concerned because we were back on campus, the students were there, and they were worried that the bandwidth wouldn't be able to deal with the 500 Chromebooks that were on campus, along with me putting on this big time production. So although I was really hesitant initially about this whole StreamYard thing, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to try it. I will tell you with StreamYard, even though it's free, it's important that you practice. And the reason why practice is important is so that you feel comfortable and the individuals that are working with you feel comfortable. So some things about StreamYard you ought to know. When you're doing your performance or your show or whatever your individual night is, make sure you have 2 devices or 2 monitors. In my office, I have 2 monitors. But if you're in your classroom, you can have a Chromebook and a laptop, or a desktop and a laptop, whatever 2 devices you have. I don't recommend a phone because it gets to be a little bit small, but having those 2 devices allows you to have a sense of power, a sense of control. Kind of want you to see here on the screen beneath that young man, there's a picture, and there are 2 little boxes down at the bottom. Those bottom pictures are where you can allow others to be in on the call with you, the same way you would in a Zoom call where you have co-hosts or where individuals share a screen. But you, as the person that's running the StreamYard event, you decide when those persons come on camera. You decide whether or not you can hear them or not. The good thing, though, however, for them as presenters, they decide when they share their screen. So this isn't a whole relearning. This is somewhat similar to the Zoom platform. But again, it gives you high quality pictures in a setting that is not necessarily giving you the best bandwidth. The other thing is, if you're hosting a session and I was, and I needed to get someone out the room so someone else could get into the room, you can go in and remove a person who has already presented that you don't necessarily need to be in the room any longer. The other good thing about StreamYard, because there are so few people that are presenting with you, you can always ask permission beforehand of those presenters whether or not it's okay for you to record. So remember I was talking about Zoom and how I like that you can mute all participants, and that you can ask them to turn off the screen. Well, with StreamYard, there are no screens for the people that are participating with you. So you don't necessarily see their faces, but you can get questions from them. And how does that happen? With StreamYard, you can live stream on Facebook Live, or you can live stream on YouTube Live. I think TCCA is using that today. So that means that you can have individuals ask questions, and then you can post those questions on the screen. This is really awesome. So you decide which questions you want to see, which questions you want to answer, or you can post comments that are there. The other thing is with StreamYard, you can change the colors to represent your school or your organization. And then, as I said before about the whole sharing of screen, whoever is the presenter has that opportunity to share their screens. StreamYard to me initially seemed to be like this huge, scary, very scary place. But in the end, I mean, it really was a great thing for our school to have that power over what was being said, how it was being said, what was being seen. The other good thing, as I said about StreamYard, you can record and you can ask permission for the recording, and therefore they can go back to Facebook or they can go back to your YouTube page and view your recording later, or you can take a copy of the recording and put it on your school's website. Therefore, parents have that opportunity to go in and see what you've already done. And our showcase this year started out being very nerve-wracking for me, but in the end, it felt better. We're going to move on to my next slide. So it worked. Not only did it work, I received positive feedback. Although every year our Magnet Showcase has been absolutely fantastic, parents have said how wonderful it is. We've received actual surveys and done data analysis about what happened at our Magnet Showcase. This year, being able to tell parents, hey, I know you can't come necessarily to our showcase in the middle of the day, because our showcase typically happens between 9 and 11 on a Tuesday or Thursday during the week. Parents are at work, students are at school. This time that didn't have to happen. Students did not have to miss school. They had the opportunity to come in, go to the session, really like dig deeply, and see the session afterwards. So it really was a huge success. Before I move on, I want to know, were there any questions?
There are no questions about what you're speaking about right now. We do have a question for the end.
Okay, got it. Sounds good. All righty. So earlier I heard from you guys that you did back to school night and open house. Let me ask this question because I think this is important. How successful is your open house at your school? Like if you could give a percentage or the amount of parents, think back to your open house. How many parents come? How successful is it before it had to be virtual?
Ours was very successful, virtually, that is.
Good.
$30 to 50%.
Okay.
Not very successfully virtually.
Okay.
About 50%. 75%. I had 8 parents. That means 50% of my class. I would get more parents at the first semester and very few the second semester.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt that mine wasn't very successful because parents are usually busy to attend, and this was physical. And we had another one, I say almost 100%.
Oh, awesome. Glad to hear it. The reason I'm asking this question is because I've worked at different types of schools, and I know that at some schools they have 90 to 100%, and at other schools they have 10 to 20%. And that basically depends on whether or not there is transportation or if parents are working. And so ours, at our school. Parents feel what the students feel. They have 1 hour and 30 minutes to visit 7 classes. They get the full schedule of their students. We make sure we send that home with them, staple to it with a timed outline of what time they should be in each room. What's interesting about this, we have 60 to 70%. So we'd have about 800 to 900 parents on campus, but we have one elevator and parents have the exact same time that their students would have to go from one classroom to the other. So we felt like it was really successful. Our back to school night, our open house, we felt like we were doing a great job. We were happy to see parents. I'll be honest with you, our freshman parents, those classes were more full, and our students that were seniors, because parents, being a senior parent is this new experience. You've been going through all these years and everything's been, you kind of understand what's happening in elementary and middle school and high school, but senior year is this new trajectory where you're putting this adult out into the world. Like, how do you navigate this? And so we found that senior parents really did show up. They went to classes. They understood the importance, particularly of English and math courses, those core courses, because without them, the student would not be able to graduate. And so our parents were there in droves. I always loved to hear them say, I don't know how these children do this. I mean, the gym is all the way out there and they have to come all the way in here. And we always explain to them that it's possible, that it does happen. So this was a good event, a positive event. We were being very successful with this event. And our numbers probably were more than that. I'm just thinking of me from my perspective, and seeing who was there for the event. So this year we had to do something different. And so this year we decided to use Loom. It's something that was on our Clever platform for our district. Loom videos. I know many of you guys have used these, so please tell me in the chat, have you used Loom before, or Screencastify, any of those things?
We have a lot of yay, Loom, and Screencastify, and my favorite. Some people are saying no, but
okay,
there you go.
I like it. So again, me trying to navigate new things and trying to work with our leadership team and administrators, just trying to help. I know that as educators, we are struggling because we are learning new things and getting readjusted, and it's not always as easy or as smooth as we'd like it to be. However, I wanted to do this. I said that I would step up and that I would work with my principal to do this. And so we decided on Loom videos. Why did we decide on Loom? With Loom, it's a free Google extension for educators. And you can get up to 10 minutes of video for free. How did I navigate this? I gave specific guidelines that we wanted to see. And then my principal and I, we met and we discussed what she wanted to add and what she wanted to take away that was initially sent out. As a leader, she immediately thought that we needed to make sure that we told parents what were the platforms that all teachers were using in our school and how could parents navigate those platforms specifically. So all teachers in our school use Google Classroom. Our principal wanted to make sure that every parent knew how to activate guardian summaries, how to get to-do lists, how to be able to check to see what assignments were due for their students. Many of our teachers use Remind, particularly in our freshman academy, because we understand how important it is for parents to get that information quickly and for students to get that information as well. And then once we left that, we talked about having PowerPoint or Google Slides. Now, I will tell you, I have been an educator for over 16 years now. So I live in a bubble. I don't know if any of you guys live in a bubble, but in my bubble, I believe that everybody's doing some of what I think are the basic things I was doing. So we do this, and I ask, well, my principal asked on behalf of the team of us that were working on this event, hey, each teacher needs to create a PowerPoint or create a set of Google Slides with these things. So what are the platforms? What are the behavioral norms for each Google Classroom virtually? What are the methods for grading? All of these things. So this is what we have there. So I thought it was going to be a quick fix to a PowerPoint or to a set of Google Slides that these individuals have always used for our live in-person events. That was not the case. everybody wasn't doing PowerPoints or Google Slides. Many of our teachers were just standing there lecturing to parents, even though I've seen them in the classroom using all these tech tools, but for whatever reason, for parents, they would just talk to them instead of having a PowerPoint or a Google slide. So that was a hurdle for me. I guess because I don't always think that way. So be patient with your teachers, particularly those of you that are serving as leaders on campus, or the in-between folks is what I call us. We're not administrators and we're not necessarily teachers, but be patient with teachers with expectations, and be willing to listen to them. Go talk to them and find out what they need and what that should look like. And so there were guidelines about what we wanted on the PowerPoint and the Google slides, so that everything was homogenous in the sense that parents could go there and click there. And then there's a link that comes with the Loom videos, and they would send those back. And then we created, back to Google Sites, we created a Google site so that parents could go in and click on the class of each teacher. One of the other things that I found out during this process was teachers don't like showing their face on camera. And I get that. I do. I had to tell them that, hey, you can create your Loom video with just your voice and your slides. You don't have to show your face. So that was a big thing for them. I will say that it's still something we worked out, but overall, I think it was a good opportunity for teachers to get that information out to parents, to help parents know what's happening, what the classroom looked like. What I really loved about this is that parents can go back any time of the year, look at this and see. So maybe your student has been doing fine. They hit a bump in the road. They have a C or a D. You can go back and see, hey, what are the expectations of this teacher? What does the teacher want from my child? How can I get in contact with the teacher? So this is a gift that keeps on giving, if that makes any sense for you all to do this. And so maybe you're saying, hey, we already did ours, it wasn't effective, or we haven't. This is something maybe you want to do next semester as well. Go in, create a Google site, have your teachers create Loom videos, and then parents always have access to go back, reference these videos, know what's happening in the class, and understanding how they can be the best advocate to assist their child. So although I did not like this idea of us not being able to do one of our most successful parent engagements, I think we're reaching even more parents, especially those parents that are struggling with time and finances and such. I'm going to pause right here to see if there are any questions or concerns or comments.
We did have one. I asked the person to elaborate, but how would a teacher reach out to parents with students online?
So what I did is that I used Google Meet. And so with Google Meet, you get a link and you can send it to parents. They click on that link and they can set it up. The other thing that I did is with the help of my best friend, again, she's amazing. She helped me to do this thing on Google Calendar, where I get reminders to me, again, back to that whole MS Teams things where I got reminders. And so they had appointment slots. Parents could go to the appointment slot, sign up, and then I did a Google Meet with them. And that way I could see them face to face if they wanted to put their camera on. If not, it just gave me that opportunity to meet with them. And the best thing about it is you have a record or track of it. And I know you have that with Zoom, but what I like about Google Calendar is that there's a name attached to it. There's a time attached to it. And you have that link. So it's not causing the parents these extra hurdles. It's something they can even do on their cell phone. So that's what I've been doing. Part of my job as Magnesite coordinator is to stay in contact with my students that are probationary or have low GPAs, because once they're ours, they're our kids. We want to keep them. And so I meet with them on Wednesdays with Google Meets, but my best friend showed me how to do those appointment slots, and having that, you can do that with parents as well.
So our other question is, besides the actual events, outside of like your scheduled events, how do you interact with parents, or how can teachers interact with parents? Any special things that they should pay attention to for technology?
What I would say is you as the educator need to decide what works best for you. Google Meets works best for me, but if Zoom works best for you, decide what that looks like. Have a set time that you put out there. You can send an email to parents, or you can send a Google form home that parents have to complete. But make sure you decide what's your platform. How do I want to engage? Have a set time for each meeting and know going in that you have information for your students set up. Um, Big push for me at my school is making sure that every teacher engages with students that have D's or F's. And if you're an elective, I say C, D's or F's, because if you're making a C in PE, it probably has something to do with something that's going on with you personally. And so what I do is come into the meeting thinking about what are those things that the student is doing positively? What are those areas that I need to work on? And having a real ask of the parent. For instance, if they're struggling in math or they're struggling in science, what tutoring can I provide, or what that is being provided at the school, or what is the teacher providing? Or are we going to decide as a collective to go find out some online tutoring, or maybe tutoring that's being offered at a local library or something like that? But again, decide on what your platform. If you're going to do Google Meets, if you're going to do Zoom, pick your platform and then set up calendar times and dates for that. Have a time slot, a start and an end time, and then have specific things you're going to discuss. Just be very intentional. And then with parents, you can email and or call them. And I know sometimes that doesn't work. And then you have to work as a staff to see, do we need to do a home visit for some of these students? Because we don't want to lose children. And it's so easy to be lost in the spirit of this that we're dealing with. But we have to be intentional because we want these students. They are our life's blood, and we want to give them our very best. All right. So we're almost to the end, guys. And I feel like this is a good follow-up to these questions. Student success requires more. You've got to consider all parents. I know I grew up with a fabulous mom who was there at everything. The other good thing about where I grew up is my school, up until I was in middle school, and I decided to, not I decided, but my parents decided to send me to a magnet program, is that my school was really close to my home. And so my mom was on campus. She was there all the time. Every parent isn't like that. They can't be. And so if you have parents that are working late or working early, they're doctors, they're nurses with 12-hour shifts, or maybe you have a parent who has to work 2 jobs, consider all parents. Us being virtual has actually been a help for some of those parents because they can actually be engaged and involved. The other thing is you want to demand equity and inclusion for everybody. And so when you consider all parents and all students, you're going to push yourself, and you're going to understand that equity is not just giving everybody the same thing. It's giving everyone the same opportunity to be successful. This also process has been really good for me because I'm understanding that you got to allow yourself to fail. I have failed with MS Teams, Streamyard, Google Site, Loom videos, Screencastify. I failed with Google Calendar. And here's the thing, it's not the teacher, it's operator error. But I'm okay with that. You want to know why? Because after every failure, I've been more successful, and I've allowed more parents to have a seat at the table with a voice in the conversation. And that is what matters. So you've got to give yourself more and understand that it's going to take a little bit of you in order to do so. My last 3 things are about, I saw this actually when I was looking for pictures from my PowerPoint. It says, great teachers never stop learning. And I love that. So if you know who that quote is actually by, I would love to know. But great teachers never stop learning. And I always want to be that. I always want to be teachable. I always want to learn. I don't care what my title or position is. I always want to at heart be a teacher who never stops learning, that wants the best for her students. keep attending conferences. So yay, TCCA hashtag out there 2020. Keep looking for ways to grow and expand, and always be willing to try new platforms. If I've learned nothing else from my best friend, Dr. Desiree Alexander, and my other friend, Dr. Bear, it's that if you are going to do this tech ed thing, you got to keep learning, keep trying new platforms, make some failures. It's going to be good. But have a heart for giving and a heart for learning and a heart for processing. And that's the best thing for everybody. And this is my last slide. I just want to say thank you guys for being in my session today. Again, my name is Bridgette Fortenberry. Here's my email address, educatorforte@gmail.com. There is no phone because I am really at my desk next to my desk phone. So if you call, it takes about 48 hours for me to get back to you anyway. And I'm not as fancy for a website yet, but I think my best friend convinced me today I probably needed Twitter. So I'm going to get right on that. And then if I do, I'll be sure to share it out to you guys. Thank you again for being here today. And Dr. Alexander is going to put the secret password in the chat. And one final thing, make sure you guys visit educatoralexander.com. She has fantastic resources. She wants to help you as an educator have a voice, have a purpose, and do great things in the lives of children and families.
So with our last 2 minutes, we have two questions that kind of blend in together. So what if parents are reluctant to meet with you on any platform you give them? What do you do? What are some concerns that parents may have, during this COVID time? Of course, we can't get to everything during this little 15 minutes, but you can just kind of respond to that.
And so what I found is that if the student is on campus, talk with the student. Parents are reluctant. I am not a big person for being on camera. It's not my favorite thing to do. I do not like it, actually. But I understand that it's important for some parents to have that opportunity. And so what I'll say is that it's really key that you talk to the student and talk to your counselors on campus. Those are the people that really have this opportunity to showcase what they need and can really help you do what's important. So, and I like in the chat, somebody just said, mail them a letter. More than ever before, people really like having something tangible in their hands. So mailing letters, even mailing postcards from your school might be the way. That might be the one thing that connects parents and makes them want to join and be a part of the conversation. So talk to the student, talk to your counselors, talk to other teachers on campus, and just really try to keep going, keep pushing yourself. And I know you're tired. I really do, because I'm tired too. But I'm not so tired that I won't keep trying because I want parents to be a part of the conversation.
And stay determined. That is your keyword, determination. With a capital D.
With a capital D.
So I posted it in the chat a bunch, just in case, spelling counts. So determination with a capital D. And thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome. You're amazing. You're doing great work.